This tutorial will look at your Moodle settings. First, get to your course homepage. If you have just logged into Moodle, you will already be on your course homepage. But if you're somewhere else, say in one of your courses, you will need to use the breadcrumbs in the upper left-hand corner to do your navigating. So if I click on my Techie Teacher Classroom, notice how my breadcrumbs start to expand themselves. Navigating back and forth through here is going to be the best way for you to navigate in Moodle. Remember on this home page that the courses you have access to are listed in the course overview. This also is where all of your students will see and access their course classes as well. Let's go ahead and click on one of your courses and get into it. This is just going to take us into the home page of this particular course, and you'll notice that the page is formatted a bit differently in this area. You'll still notice the docs, the left and right hand column, with general information and access to various portions of your course. But the main area of the page is set up in topics. This is where you're going to build the content of your course. You do have docking options, and you might remember that from the previous tutorials. If you hover over the upper right corners of the dock, you'll notice that you have options to either hide or dock the blocks. I prefer to have mine docked, so I'm going to go ahead and dock those. Notice that it just kind of throws everything into a tab, and it's a little bit easier to see more content of your course. So let's go ahead and dive into the settings of your course. We're going to go to the Admin tab and then just right into Edit Settings. This is where you're going to be able to adjust course settings for your particular course. So the first thing to look at here is your course name. Is it named correctly? Do you want to rename it? Now is the opportunity to take your time to go ahead and figure out what's going to be something good and catchy to name your course. So go ahead and add that in. If you want, you can add a course description. It is not required. Remember from previous tutorials as well that the only required areas are the ones that are red and asterisked. The other thing that I want to remind you of from previous tutorials is that all of your other options here with our Moodle upgrade are going to be collapsed. So let's scroll back up to the upper right-hand corner and expand all of those options so that we can start to look at them right now as we go through and start to outline some of this. So the first option here after we expand is the course format. And for sake of ease and use of time, I'm just going to suggest that you keep the format selected as a topics format. Unless you are going to have an online course that paces itself in a weekly format, there really is no reason to toggle back and forth between these. So let's just go ahead and keep that set as a topics format. The number of sections by default is 10, and that's probably a good one to start with. And then you can have other options as to if you want to keep hidden sections completely invisible or if you just want them shown but in collapsed form. I like to keep them completely invisible. It just is less visually distracting for the kids when they go and view your course. In scrolling on down, the next option there is your appearance. So the theme is like the background color. It's like the wallpaper of your course. And the best way that I know to tell you to take a look through some of these is just if you go ahead and experiment with one, select one, you're going to have to scroll down to the bottom, save those changes, and then view the preview of your course. And that really didn't change much at all with that particular one, but it did change the colors of my my docking areas and that sort of thing. So let's get back into that editing area. I'm going to go back to administration, back into my edit settings. I'm going to expand all of my options, and now I'm going to scroll back down and I'm going to go back to my force theme, and I'm just going to keep looking through some of these until I find one that's kind of a nice one. So, all right, moving on. I would let's see, what else do you need to know here? I would say news items to show, go ahead and leave that set at 5. I would opt to show the gradebook to your students. Keep in mind, this is not tied to Infinite Campus. So any grades that you take in Moodle, you purposely need to enter into Infinite Campus. I would leave the maximum file set for your files and uploads just as large as it can be. Unless you have a reason for making that smaller, go ahead. I would just go ahead and leave it set it the default setting, just so that you're sure that you don't run out of space. You do want tracking to be enabled, and that gets discussed in tutorials that are much later on. And initially, you do not want guests to access your course. And we will talk about this in much greater depth face-to-face when we talk about how your kids enroll into your course. For now, I would not worry about groups. That really is a much more advanced feature. And I also would not worry about renaming your roles. So we're just going to save all these changes. And this is going to take us back to my course homepage. You can see that I have applied a different theme. And here are all of my topics. I left this set as a default of 10. And so this really reflects some of the changes that I made, and I didn't make that many changes. So these are some of the key points of your course settings. These are the big settings, though, I would say, are the theme that you want to set for the background option and the guest access. And again, that's so that your kids can get enrolled very easily without you needing to manage and oversee that.